The Akwasidai of Sunday, 5th December 1971, strikes a somber note. It marks the beginning of the final funeral rites for the late Nana Otumfuo Sir Osei Ajman Prempeh II. The doleful tocsin strains of the Odruja flute announce deep sense of loss. It is the evening of the warrior's Adai, and the young warrior keeps awake with the royal family, his palace musicians and functionaries. He is preparing himself to shoulder the strains and burdens of his office. Throughout the night, the wake is being kept in every Stool house with intermittent firing of musketry by the Ankobia and the Ware clans. The Asante must reflect in his person the collective feelings of his people. He must be calm and bear his sorrows with dignity and fortitude. Next day, the Asante warriors and mourners sing war songs as they march with their commanders to pay their last respects to their commander-in-chief, the late Asante Nana Otumfuo Sir Osei Ajman Prempeh II. Nana Otumfuo Kuku II appears in the Batekerkese, the royal ceremonial battle dress, to be acclaimed as the new commander-in-chief. Preceded by another symbol of his office, a stool, he joins the procession. Riding in the royal palanquin and flanked by courtiers and attendants, Nana Opoku Ware leads his armies in the symbolic warrior dance, the Fontom from Atopletia. On foot are the household guards, the Otumfuo, in their ceremonial dress. Among the chiefs in the procession is the Nsumankwahini, to see that no evil or ill luck shall mar the solemn ceremonies. Earlier, he had prophesied fair weather throughout the period of national mourning. In his feathered cap is the bearer of the Mpomponsio's state sword, the Excalibur of the Asante kings. And still, the mourners come in ever-growing numbers. And the Mamponhini, who has had to supervise the earlier burial arrangements and the installment of Nana Opoku Ware II, leads his people to the site for the gun salute. Nana Opoku Ware salutes and bids Nana Prempeh a last farewell. next day, paramount chiefs, divisional chiefs, attendants, court officials, and distinguished guests from all over Ghana continue to flock to the Gabriel, the scene of the customary rites where the Asante Hene, riding in state, will sit, distribute drinks, and receive words of condolence and donations. Led by the shield bearers with the fascinating shield dance, the lady members of the royal family have come to greet and comfort the Asante Hene. With them is the mother of the nation, the Queen Mother of Asante, in deep mourning. Clad in the company mourning cloth and symbolic family fronds, the Asante Hene sits in state to receive sympathizers who have come to mourn with him. These include representatives of the houses of chiefs, wing chiefs, and commanders and occupants of princely stools, like the Chidom Hene, the commander of the rear army, and Nana Mampo Hene, the occupant of the silver stool, is also there to pay homage. Some have come to express their feelings of sorrow and sympathy to the music of the Kete and Adwa drums in symbolic gesture movements and miming, counseling the Asante Hene to show fortitude in his bereavement. As an expression of traditional friendship, the Yana has sent a special delegation of chiefs and dancers and a lady musketeer. A young girl leading the Adoswa procession, bearing gifts and displaying wealth, delivers a message from the Asante Hene's wife in dance language. You are not alone. I share your sorrows. Be strong to support me, she says, as she hangs the Arisiado necklace round the Asante Hene's neck. The Asante Hene's cousin-in-law sends a full retinue of Adoswa maids in waiting, and the Adoswa Hima, the Adoswa Queen, with a similar procession to exhibit her traditional burial articles to the rhythms of the royal Kete drums. The fast is broken, and members of the royal family purify themselves by shaving off their hair and paring their nails. These are collected and deposited in the Ebuchiakrua, the funeral urn, as a sign of love, solidarity, and continuity of the life cycle. Amidst drumming and firing of musketry, the Wirempehini, the chief of the people who hold the secret of the royal household, the stool carriers and the Bantmahi return from a secret grove with the consecrated stool of the late Sir Oseyajman Prempe II to be added to the stools of his predecessors in the Stool's chapel. Throughout the previous night, the selected stool and the golden stool have been at an all-night vigil of ritual invocation for the spirit, Sunsum, of the late Asantehene to inhabit the stool as a shrine and a permanent memorial to his reign. The state mourning is over. The funeral urn has been deposited in a chapel at Berima Mausoleum, and the path has been closed to death. A new reign has begun. The young tree which replaced the old has withstood the first stresses of its young life. From now, the new Asantehene, Nana Opoku Ware, may wear jewelry with members of the royal family. The late Otumfuo Sir Osei Ajman has been born in the spirit world, and victory has been won over death. Guests, chiefs, and people from many regions and all walks of life come to greet and congratulate the Asantehene and to bid him farewell. He is all smiles now as he moves to the Stool Chapel to commune with his predecessors. He carries a musket as the new defender and leader of his people, with the Otumfuo drummers all hailing as the new moon.
To the Ashanti honor, the king never dies, for the event of a king's death is taken as a re-entry to the ancestral and is announced only in circumlocutions, even on the talking drums. The nation will nonetheless weep and wail to express its grief until a new monarch ascends the golden stool, a monarch who in the traditional imagery will restore to his people the shelter of their king's umbrella, and thus save them from being scourged to death by the sun. So as they pay their last respects to their king and master, these horn blowers are also hopeful that soon they will adulate another descendant of Osei and Opoku and recount to him the history of the nation. To locate another eagle for the nation is the constitutional duty of the Queen Mother, now the Regent. The process of nomination may appear smooth and easy, but there are always heirs to choose from, and rival claims for accession to the golden stool are made behind the scenes. The kingmakers of the royal household, that is, the occupants of the Jassy and Kobia and Ware stools, may have to face an uphill task to come to a conclusion. After reaching a unanimous decision, the kingmakers will communicate to the Queen Mother that they pronounce her nominee free from such serious diseases as leprosy, epilepsy, blindness, and sterility. Besides, he is not giving to drunkenness, gambling, fornication, and haughtiness. But that does not end the nomination. Same physical and moral analyses are done by yet another body, the Kumasi State Council. Under the leadership of the principal right-wing chief of Kumasi, the Banta Mahini, the councillors will decide whether they accept or reject the first nominated heir. And what conclusion will they reach? Yes or no? It is yes. It is concerted yes for Berima Opoku, the nominee. For him, the twilight of suspense has broken away, and with the Queen Mother, he can now shed tears of joy for his late uncle's gun to be given to him, and for the golden stool. The grove of the historic priests, Otumfuo at Agona in Ashanti, being visited today on the occasion of the making of a new king, takes us back to history. How and when the Ashanti nation and the golden stool came into being. Until the end of the 17th century, Kumasi was a subject state of the Denchira nation, to whose king it sent gold, dust, and wives annually as tribute. With the help and wise counsel of the priest, Anoche, the great ancestor chief of Agona, Kumasi was determined to break and cast off the yoke of service. First, Kumasi formed a loose union with nearby states. When sufficient strength had been mobilized through unity, hatred for the common enemy inspired King and the other chiefs of the union to battle it out with Dengera. This was the famous battle fought at Fiasi near Kumasi in about 1701. The Dengeras were vanquished. Entim Jakeri, the king of the Dengeras, was captured and beheaded. Some of the weapons used to silence Dengera in the Battle of Fiasi have been kept as museum pieces in the priest Anochi's grove at Agona. The Ashanti nation, like this stone in front of the house of the celebrated priest Anochi, has been able to weather centuries of storms because of the one main visible symbol of unity, the golden stool. The paramount sacredness of the golden stool was demonstrated in 1896 by Ashanti's submission to the deportation of their king, Prempeh I, by the colonial government. Rather than resort to war, in which they feared they might risk the loss of the golden stool, they allowed the loss of their king by exile to the Seychelles. Before King Prempeh I was sent to the Seychelles, he and his attendants, including his parents, were kept at the Elmina Castle. It was achieved. Now in suit on his arrival at Sekondi in November 1924, he was received at the Deba by the then governor, Gagisberg. Today, the links of history continue to chain together as time moves on, with Berima Kuku Edusei, the successful nominee to the Golden Stool of Ashanti. After a period of confinement following his nomination, the king-elect now emerges for a public introduction. On this occasion, the king-elect will also take the oath of his high office before the elders of the Kumasi state. To the people, indeed to the whole kingdom, Nana Opoku is coming to supply a vital spiritual link with the ancestors, a link which has been missing since the departure of Otumfuo Osei Ajiman Prempeh II for the spirit world. The ceremony of public introduction and the taking of the oath of office together constitute one of the important procedural and constitutional requirements that the king-elect has to fulfill before he can ascend the golden stool. Then, with Pomponsio's state sword in hand and facing the Queen Mother, he swears, "I am a descendant of Osei and Opoku, of Bunsu and Ajiman. I am a direct nephew of Prempeh. Today, the soul of Ajiman Prempeh has gone whence it came, and his gun lies idle. By your grace, and by the grace of the people of Kumasi, you have presented the gun to me. If I do not protect and govern you well, as did my forebears, I swear the great oath." So swears the king-elect that he shall give the kingdom a good government. Let us rejoice. Let us raise cheers of congratulations to our new monarch, Berima Kuku Edusei, as at this hour he assumes a new name, Otumfuo Opoku Ware II of Ashanti. The sounds of drums join the voices of the people in raising shouts of thanksgiving to God Almighty and to the ancestors for their goodwill, and for being installed as their ruler today The new king expresses his sincere gratitude to the chiefs and people, but to the clan chiefs of Kumasi and to the component states who are represented at this function by their spokesman, the king will also present appropriate sums of money as laid down by the Ashanti Constitution. On the following day, the monarch is introduced to the Manhyia palace, the Himfie. Here, the elders of Kumasi come and pay their respects to him and to wish him well. Although he can now sit in council or court as a ruler, the new monarch is not expected to hold an opinion of his own until the installment or formal accession to the golden stool. During this period, he is schooled in the structure and organization of the palace. He is told about rites relating to the golden stool and the black stools, in addition to an introduction to the stool house itself. The elders of Kumasi take this opportunity to visit him and offer advice on matters of importance to the kingdom and on statecraft. Throughout the constitutional processes enacted in the making of the new king, the state drums, including this one, have also been actively involved. But today, another memorial is being raised to the late king. For it is 40 days ago when Otumfuo, the new monarch's predecessor and maternal uncle, set out on his journey to the spirit world. Monarch, or an ordinary individual for that matter, passes away. Funeral rites are performed on the 8th day, then on to lead the nation in the 40th day celebrations. In honor of his predecessor, his installation has to be timely. So today, Nana Opoku Ware, the clan chiefs of Kumasi, is an act of honor, to do honor to the departed. Funeral rites may help to separate the dead from the living. But on such occasions, the dead, the ancestors, and together in according honor to the departed king, the link between the ancestors and the living, the new king. And in the performance today, the state drums join up to console him. They join up to express their sincere and profound sympathy with him. They are also pealing out to inspire him, their king and master. To the late king, a memorial which is symbolized by the celebrations. Ceremony begins, the firing of musketry. This brings together the paramount chiefs of the component states, their Manhyia, the divisional chiefs from the various states, and the people. Literally speaking, the whole kingdom assembles together to enable the Asantehene designate to demonstrate his ability to lead a Santaman, the Ashanti nation. The Asantehene, as the king of the Ashanti nation, is expected to fulfill different parts and functions. A constitutional head, a religious head, and a chief warrior, all rolled into one. In the olden days, as the chief warrior, the Asantehene was a grand captain, by whose leadership and prowess the nation marched victoriously through theaters of war. And so the clan chiefs of Kumasi today are closely identifying themselves here with the making of their new king. They, as well as the other paramount chiefs of the kingdom, are looking forward pensively to the emergence of the Asante-Hene elect. He who is to show forth the ancient martial spirit that animated King Osei Tutu, the great ancestor in the creation and consolidation of the Ashanti nation. As the grand captain of his chiefs and people, Nana Opoku Ware II wears for this occasion the grand military tunic of his forebears, the Batakarakesia. The wearing of this grand tunic, which will again be worn when the Otumfuo is celebrating the grand funeral of his immediate predecessor, adds up to the new king's capacity. His moral and spiritual capacity to command the Ashanti forces on the battlefield. Today, a practical demonstration of his ability in statecraft to be seen during his reign. Tradition demands that the Otumfuo should fire his gun 3 times, and to each fire, the Otumfuo's men-at-arms respond with a salvo. And the success of the Otumfuo's demonstration today is acknowledged by his next in command in the kingdom, the paramount chief of Mampong. It is in the little hours of the morning that the new king, Nana Opoku Ware II, sits in state outside the palace to receive pledges of allegiance from each of the 13 paramount chiefs of the kingdom. The paramount chiefs who, only a couple of hours earlier, had propped him up to ascend formally the golden stool of Ashanti. With the Mpomponsom state sword, each of them takes the oath of allegiance to the new monarch. That in rain or shine, at noon or at night, except in circumstances of ill health, each will give a loyal response to the king's call and leadership. The paramount chief of the Agona state, he who occupies the priest Anochi's stool, Otumfuo Anochi, who helped to found the nation and for which he created the golden stool, the paramount chief of Mampong, Nana Atakura Menyampong II, he who sits upon the silver stool of Ashanti. In the hierarchy of the Ashanti kingdom, Nana Mamponghene ranks next to the Asante-Hene. All the processes of king-making have been successfully performed. Nana Opoku Ware II comes out now as fully fledged king to meet his people, this time at a Thanksgiving Durbar. Songs of felicitation by the women in honor of the new king. Songs of praise and thanks to Tridiampong, the Almighty God. Otumfuo Opoku Ware II now sits in state to receive the congratulations and the goodwill of the chiefs and elders. Today, Nana Opoku Ware II has restored to his people the shelter of the king's umbrella, for he has become the father of the nation. As the constitutional head, the chiefs and people are looking up to him with confidence for a good government. They expect him to emulate the sterling qualities of his great predecessors, Osei and Opoku. From the royal lineage of the Yoko clan of Kumasi has emerged another Opoku Ware. The Yoko clan, one of the 7 main clans upon which the Ashanti family system is based. A system from which the institution of chieftaincy has sprung. Today, the drums have joined the voices of the people to raise echoes of felicitation across the kingdom. That Nana Opoku Ware has been able to make all the rungs in the constitutional ladder of kingmaking. His nomination, his election and installation, all culminating in the series of installment ceremonies. Let the drums perform again and again for a king. Let the drums peal out for Nana Opoku Ware II, Otumfuo Opoku Ware, who at the age of 51 has risen from the legal profession. Otumfuo Opoku Ware II, who with a store of public experience behind him, has come to ascend the golden stool of Ashanti as the new king of his people. The people who have thus been saved from being scourged to death by the sun. For them and for the nation, another mighty eagle has been found.
That night, a state banquet at Ghana's new luxury hotel, the Ambassador in Accra. For Sir Charles Arden Clark, Governor of the Gold Coast, and now to be the first Governor-General of Ghana, this is the climax of a long and notable career. During his distinguished governorship, Ghana becomes the first of Africa's colonies to win full independence.
Keeper. Let us in that spirit salute the birth of the Second Republic of Ghana. Long live Ghana.
From the NLC to the Busia regime. Busia, for example, was the government was very much interested in rural development. Of course, they didn't have long enough time. Then you had the Achampon era.
It is therefore imperative that you join us in observing the principles of our revolution by being modest, honest, approachable, understanding, courteous, and sympathetic when we are trying to break away from the old. In this connection, I also want to advise the general public to reciprocate so that a congenial atmosphere may be created for all of us to work for the good of Ghana. Long live the Ghana Armed Forces. Long live the revolution. Long live the National Redemption Council. Long live Ghana. As you go home, remember that the revolution continues unabated.
In the other regions of Ghana, demonstrations of support for the NRC took place simultaneously. The government had achieved much in its first year in office, and Ghanaians were justifiably happy.
He left a lot to technicians and officials to implement. And
the ceremony at the border town of Aflao, the two heads of state, Colonel Achampong of Ghana and President Yadema of Togo, ceremoniously opened the customs barrier between the two sister states. Traffic between the two states can now move 24 hours a day. A significant page has been opened in the annals of Ghana-Togo relations. The two countries have moved a step closer to the goal of African unity.
On June 4, 1979, the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council came on the political scene.
Massive demonstrations throughout the length and breadth of the country were held in support of the revolution. Addressing a mammoth students' rally at the University of Ghana, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings said that they were motivated by a burning desire to ensure that the incoming political administration was given the right atmosphere within which to take all necessary steps to bring stability and prosperity to the nation. The AFRC was all out to remove mismanagement, maladministration, corruption at high places, abuse of power by the well-to-do, and a conscienceless display of affluence by a few well-to-do. Probity and accountability was the order of the day. The most valuable legacy the AFRC left behind was honesty and accountability.
The dreams of our founding fathers have been dashed to the ground. Today, we live as in a nightmare. Our economy is shattered. Chronic shortages of basic commodities characterize our everyday life. Many Ghanaians of metal have left our shores to seek their livelihood elsewhere. Never have Ghanaians known such humiliation.
In 1979, Ghanaians decided to go back to the ballot box to elect a new leader for the Third Republic.
I have visited 115 constituencies out of 140. And I'm telling you, the people of Jema and Greater Accra, that everywhere, they are determined to vote solidly for the Popular Front. Let an LCA government inspire patriotism, inspire nationalism, inspire the spirit of oneness. Let nepotism and local particularism have no place in the government we are now to form. As you remember, very early in the year, on the 5th of January 1979, an unforgettable event took place in Accra. A group of gallant, public-spirited men declared their intent to form a broad-based political party to be known and called the United National Convention. The PNP is the only national party among all the others. It has support in every family, in every village, in every town, in every urban center, and in every one of our cities. Why does it have this support? Because the PNP says no to scarcity. The PNP says no to indignity. The PNP says no to humiliation. The PNP says no to all that has been negative in our national life over the last 30 years. What are we doing for our dear country? Our dear country is now torn into pieces. Our dear country is now shattered by economic mismanagement. There's no soap for you to have your bath. There's no sugar. There's no milk. There's no kata. No drugs. Nothing. Do you think that we have got to endure this thing for all our lifetime? Do you think we have got to endure this thing for all our lifetime? Where's the cocoa money? Where's the timber money? Where's the manganese money? So here we were, over 5 million eligible voters, being asked to vote of our own free will for an executive president and 140 parliamentarians,
for the National Assembly. On the eve of the polls, 6 political parties were ready for honors. There was the Third Force Party, led by Dr. John Billis, the Action Congress Party, led by Colonel Frank Velasco, and the People's National Party, led by Dr. Hilal Imam. To complete. In addition, 4 independent runners were in the presidential race: Mr. Mark Diamond Niadi, Mr. Kwame Nyante, Alhaji Imoro Ayana, and Dr. R.P. Babu.
He also gave about what to do with the economy, including even realignment of the currency and so on.
As president of the Third Republic of Ghana, Dr. Hilal Imam tried to rebuild Ghana's image with sister African countries.
Unfortunately, there were divisions within the government, which were natural, because Achampon had been against this devaluation. That was one of the reasons why he took power. And many people, many of the OCPP did not like the idea of devaluation. PNDC came. They also had to find some time to find their feet, and they thought of certain measures which they tried to implement. For example, prices were to be kept low and so on. There was hullabaloo when I increased the price of milk from 80 pesos to 3 cedis, a tin, I do remember. And now I don't know, it's about 90 or so.
The PNDC then went to IMF for assistance to recover the economy.
Most of the people who supported the new regime had great expectations. And they did not expect prices to go up or certain measures to be taken. It took some time. Then later on, it was quite clear that we had to go to the IMF and take certain measures. And the government courageously took that path.
In 1992, Ghanaians again decided to go back to the ballot box.
In preparation for the presidential and parliamentary elections, some political parties have been holding congresses to elect their presidential candidates. At the National Delegates Congress of the New Patriotic Party, 2,000 delegates, 10 from each region, met to choose a flag bearer from among 6 contestants. The delegates were called constituency by constituency to cast their votes. For 2 whole hours, delegates were kept in a suspense. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for.
Mr. James before had 1,034. I've been touched by the confidence you have reposed in me by giving me your mandate to be the flag bearer of this great party of ours.
Another political party, the Eagle Party, also held a delegates' congress to elect a leader.
Somebody who is dynamic, somebody who is young, who is beautiful, who can do the rest.
By acclamation, the 50 delegates present returned President J.J. Rawlings unopposed as its presidential candidate. In the last elections, the Eagle Party went into electoral alliance with the ruling National Democratic Congress.
The current president is your nominee for the presidential contest for 96.
Mr. Uraku Amofa, Deputy Minister of Tourism. The ruling National Democratic Congress, NDC, also held a rally at which they were addressed by the leader of the party, President J.J. Rawlings.
Let me assure you that this party is going to grow from strength to strength.
Victory for democracy, victory for our independence, and victory for all Ghanaians. As our gallant soldiers march on this day of inaugurating a new president, the independence of the Ghanaian is being preserved and protected. The presence of leaders of sister nations give meaning to Ghanaians linking their independence with other sister nations. General Sani Abacha of Nigeria was there to grace the occasion. As was said by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of the First Republic, the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's linked to the total liberation of Africa.
That should I, at any time,
break this oath of office.
break this oath of office.
I shall submit myself.
I shall submit myself
To the laws of the Republic of Ghana.
to the laws of the Republic of Ghana and suffer the penalty for it.
So help me God.
So help me God.
What is the feeling of the people who fought for our independence?
We as servicemen stayed in our position, many, you see, Recently, the president tried all his best to give the ex-servicemen who have been from 39 to 45 pension from 1980, which we are enjoying now. But it still is very small. The pay is very, very little. You see, we must enjoy something small. Remain few of us.
Our dreams, our hopes, and aspiration is being realized gradually. We have not fully got what we want. We have not fully got what we want. For instance, our pension was not on, but it was the present President, General Rawlings, President Rawlings, who gave this first step of the pension. And we are still requesting for more in order to get to the actual position of the pension we require. Because we fought for the entire country. We didn't fight for any other person. And if we had not gone there, the enemy could have come here. And that was why we're having blackout in this country during the war. And that was why SS Ankara was sunk here at the port, at the seaport here. It means the war was coming here gradually. So it was good for us to go there and stop the war. And we stopped the war, we came back, we didn't find what we really, the compensation which we deserve, until the present government tried, and they are still trying to compensate us. So we're still waiting.
Ma, be obaje ne ke bi mi den che ngona ji ya laje ahiku. Ni je gane no ya laje e ja gwana cha ke je ni ya go je me. Pen benin te je me no yo la ka heko ko kwa ni no mbombi mu je gane no mi dia ne ni ngene. A cha ke ma fa sha gbene e hwo wo me no wote ni wa tunu oba e hwo wo da anwani sana afi wo no afi no kwa no wana ku wo ka yi o kele akwa ele wo bi ko ngame. Ona me ni ba ruin fe ne beja wanyemi jeje rollins men ba gi ba president kan bi ne fe mo ni baba nkuma bene aba mo le wote o sha fo wote wa je le je me ba mo le ge jo fa o sha fo te ka ba ni iba domo sipende CPP wi no be ye fo woda ndon CPP station ka be mo ni pene ba ni le ni ha wona mi chef oji ni ji jeje rollins le fe ji mo ni e bu awo ke ha wona woda ma fifi ni ke opa ke ne ke kun afi awon kun na ka ni bu me ni huni ke wote ye na ke wote ni agbegbe me kun abi kaji na ka ma fi o kun no ni wo fe bi na wo fe kun ngene shi ni wo dum ni kaji wo fe na ka kun be ne fe ayi wo no lolo
private Odate Lamte GC 36764 private Odate Lamte GC 36764 private Odate Lamte Assessor GC 80193 private JP Aite. Yes, sir. 163285 Sergeant Joseph Quay. Yes, sir. GC 28681 Corporal Atipo. Assessor. 8 Sergeant CF Ajete. GC 36698 Sergeant Ajete. GC 36698 Sergeant CF Ajete. Assessor.
In the memory of the fallen heroes, this cenotaph was built. This is how we remember Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and Private Odate Lamte, the gallant soldiers who fell on 28 February 1948, leading to our independence on the 6th of March 1957.
May the souls of all departed brethren rest in peace. Amen.
Buscando algunas cosas.